I am about to show you one number inside your blood right now that is quietly raising your blood pressure every single morning. Your doctor has never tested for it, and half of all strokes in people over 60 happen in people whose blood pressure looked completely normal the week before. You can ask for this number at your next appointment. It costs less than $50. And the first breakfast change I am going to show you can start lowering it by tomorrow morning. Your doctor checks your blood pressure every visit. Your doctor checks your cholesterol every 6 months. The numbers come back fine. You walk out of the office believing your arteries are safe because your doctor said so, because the medication is working, because the LDL was in range. But people with perfect blood pressure numbers are having strokes every Tuesday morning. Their doctors are confused. The blood work looked clean. Everything was controlled. And still the bad thing happened. Because the thing that actually caused the crisis was never measured. It was on no blood panel. It was in no standard checkup. And it is far more dangerous than the numbers your doctor has been tracking your entire adult life. So let me tell you what I see in my work. I sit across from people who do everything right. They take the pill. They walk in the morning. They cut the salt. They watch the cholesterol. They eat what the bottle and the food label tell them is heart healthy. And one Tuesday at 7:43 a.m., the kitchen mug hits the floor. I have watched it happen too many times, and every single time the first thing the family says is the same. He was so careful. She was so careful. The numbers were fine. I want you to stay with me for the next hour, because by the end of the hour, you will know one specific number, one specific test, and one specific breakfast change. Almost no senior in this country knows about it. You will know more than your neighbor knows. You will know more than your friends at church know. You will know more than most general practice doctors are looking for at your annual visit, and you will know exactly what to do tomorrow morning. Now, before we go any further, I want you to figure out something honest about yourself. There are 3 types of people watching right now, and the type you are decides what happens to your arteries over the next 10 years. Type 1 is the person who does not really pay attention to their numbers. They take the pill the doctor gave them, they eat what their wife or husband makes, they get the annual checkup, and they assume everything is being handled by somebody else. Type 1 does not think about hidden numbers. Type 1 does not read food labels. Type 1 trusts the system, and usually type 1 is the one whose family is most surprised when something happens. Type 2 is the person who is doing everything right. They count their steps, they cut their salt. They eat the oatmeal because the box says it is heart healthy. They take their medication exactly when they are supposed to. They drink the orange juice for the vitamin C. They use the margarine because they were told butter was the enemy. Type 2 is careful. Type 2 is responsible. Type 2 has been told they are doing a great job by their doctor. And type 2 is the type that breaks my heart the most, because type 2 thinks they are safe. And type 2 is the one I see having the stroke at 72. Type 3 is rare. Type 3 is the person who has stopped trusting that the standard checkup is enough. Type 3 has started asking, what is my doctor not measuring? Type 3 has heard about a hidden number. Type 3 knows that a stroke at 70 is almost never random. Type 3 has changed their breakfast. Type 3 has handed their old blood work to someone like me and said, please look at this differently. And type 3 is the one I almost never see in the emergency room. I do not know yet which type you are. I know you are watching, which means you are not type 1, but you might still be type 2. You might be doing everything right, and still missing the one thing that actually decides whether your artery wall holds together for the next 20 years. By the time we finish, you will have a choice. You can stay where you are, or you can quietly become type 3. Tomorrow morning, at the same kitchen table with the same cup of coffee, you can be a different kind of person. Same kitchen, same chair, different number inside your blood. I want you to imagine something with me, just for a minute. It is 6 months from today. The same kitchen you are standing in right now, the same window, the same light coming through the curtains around 7 in the morning, the same chair, the same coffee mug. You sit down at the table, but the plate in front of you is different. There is no instant oatmeal. There is no orange juice. There is no slice of toast covered in margarine. There is a different kind of plate, a plate that quietly lowered something inside your blood every day for 180 days, without you doing anything dramatic. Without you joining a gym, without you starving yourself, without you giving up coffee. 6 months in, you go for your annual visit. The nurse takes your blood pressure. She raises her eyebrows a little. She says, "This is the cleanest reading you have had in years." The doctor walks in, he looks at the chart, he looks at you, he looks at the chart again. He says, "What have you been doing differently?" You tell him. He pauses. He says, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." That night, your wife is reading in the chair across from you. She looks up over her glasses. She says you look different lately. She cannot say exactly how. You just look more like yourself. Your daughter calls on Sunday. She says her father-in-law just had a stent put in. $30,000. 3 nights in the hospital. He is recovering. He is okay. She tells you the story. Then she says, "I am so glad we do not have to worry about you." That sentence costs nothing, but it is the most expensive sentence in any senior life. I am so glad we do not have to worry about you. This is the version of you that does not have a Tuesday morning emergency. This is the version of you that does not become the careful one who somehow had a stroke anyway. This is the version of you that walks the dog at 78 years old. This is the version of you that holds the new grandchild without anyone watching your face for a sign. I am not promising you that. I cannot promise you that. Nobody can. But I can promise you this. The version of you that gets to live that morning 6 months from now is a version that figured out one number, a number that almost no senior in this country knows about, and changed one breakfast and kept changing it. That is where this hour ends up. Now I have to take you somewhere harder first. There is a man I want you to meet. His name is Clarence Whitlock, 67 years old, retired chemistry teacher, 31 years at the same high school, married to Eleanor for 41 years, 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, lives in a small town outside Asheville, North Carolina. Clarence is the kind of man who keeps a notebook for everything. He writes down his blood pressure every morning. He writes down his weight every Monday. He has been doing this since 2012. He has 14 years of data on himself. 14 years. He walks his dog Murphy every morning at 6:15. He plays bridge on Thursdays. He teaches a Sunday school class for the high school kids. They love him because he was their chemistry teacher first. Clarence takes his statin. He takes his blood pressure pill. He took the cholesterol diagnosis seriously. He cut out red meat. He started eating oatmeal every single morning. He drinks orange juice for the vitamin C. He switched to whole grain bread. He stopped putting butter on his toast. He uses the margarine the doctor recommended. His blood pressure runs around 122/78. His LDL came down to 88. His doctor is proud of him. Eleanor is proud of him. And on a Tuesday morning, October 18th at 7:43 a.m., the chemistry teacher hits the kitchen floor. The man who knew the molecules better than most doctors. His right side is not moving. Eleanor calls 911. The ambulance comes. Clarence has a stroke at 67 years old. Now I want you to understand something. Clarence did not have high blood pressure that morning. The night before, his reading was 119/76. He wrote it in the notebook. The notebook is still on the kitchen counter. Eleanor cannot bring herself to move it. His cholesterol the month before was the best it had been in years. His doctor had said, whatever you are doing, keep doing it. His ECG that summer had been completely normal. So what happened? This is where the standard medical story stops making sense. This is where every family I have ever sat with says the same 5 words. He was doing everything right. And every single time, I have to be the one who tells them he was doing everything right according to a system that is missing the most important number. Let me walk you through that Tuesday, because I want you to feel something. Clarence wakes up at 6. He puts the coffee on. He lets Murphy out into the backyard. He stands at the window for a moment, watching the dog. He goes to the bathroom and takes his blood pressure. 119/76, good number. He writes it in the notebook. He takes his pills, the statin, the blood pressure medication, a baby aspirin, which his doctor told him to keep taking. He walks Murphy at 6:15, like always, half a mile. He comes back at 6:40. At 6:45, he sits down at the kitchen table. Eleanor is still asleep upstairs. The morning is gray. The radio is on low. Clarence makes the same breakfast he has been making for almost 10 years, a bowl of instant oatmeal. He stirs in a little brown sugar, a banana sliced on top, a glass of orange juice, 8 ounces, a cup of low-fat vanilla yogurt, 2 slices of whole grain toast with margarine, a second cup of black coffee. He eats the breakfast that the box, the carton, the tub, and the bag have all told him is heart healthy. The breakfast his doctor smiled and nodded at when Clarence described it last summer. He finishes by 7:15. He reads the paper for 15 minutes. At 7:30, he gets up to refill his coffee. At 7:43, the mug hits the floor. His right side is not working. He cannot say Eleanor's name. He cannot get to the phone. He is on the kitchen floor, and the most painful thing about this story is that he understands exactly what is happening to him in real time because he was a chemistry teacher. Eleanor finds him at 7:51. She calls 911. The ambulance is at the house in 11 minutes. By the time Clarence is in the emergency room, his right side has been without normal blood flow for almost an hour. He survives. He keeps his life. He loses partial speech for 4 months. He loses fine motor control in his right hand. He cannot button his own shirt for a long time. The notebook stays on the kitchen counter. The mug Eleanor never quite cleans up. There's a small chip in the floor tile under where it landed. The doctor walks Eleanor through the chart. He says, "I do not understand what happened. His numbers were perfect. His blood pressure was great. His cholesterol was low. He was on the right medication. There is no explanation." That sentence. There is no explanation. I want you to write that sentence in your head right now. There is no explanation. Because the doctor was telling the truth, given what the doctor was looking at. There is no explanation in the standard checkup. There is no explanation on the standard panel. There is no explanation in the cholesterol number, the blood pressure number, the heart rate, the EKG. But there was an explanation. The explanation was sitting in Clarence's blood that morning. It had been sitting there for years. Nobody ever measured it. Nobody ever looked for it. Nobody at his annual physical had ever drawn the test that would have shown it. His chemistry teacher mind would have understood it instantly if anyone had ever told him about it. So now I am going to tell you about it. I want you to picture something simple. Imagine your bedroom floor, wooden floor. And every morning somebody carries in 3 logs of firewood and stacks them in the corner of the bedroom. 3 logs is a lot of wood. 5 logs is more. 8 logs is too many. Your doctor's job, the way the system is set up, is to count the logs, to worry about the size of the wood pile, to give you a pill that makes the wood pile a little smaller. That wood pile is your cholesterol. That is your LDL. Now I want you to ask a question that nobody asks at the annual physical. If the bedroom is full of wood, what would have to happen for the bedroom to actually catch fire? Wood does not light itself. You can stack wood in a corner forever and never have a fire. The wood does not know how to ignite itself. The wood is just sitting there. For a fire to start, you need a match. You need a spark. You need heat. And here's what I want you to hold in your mind for the rest of the hour. Your doctor is obsessed with the wood pile. The whole annual physical is built around the wood pile. The cholesterol test, the LDL number, the statin pill, all of it. Wood, wood, wood. But the fire that closes an artery is never started by the wood. The fire is started by the match. And there is a match in Clarence Whitlock's blood that morning. The match was in his blood the day before. The match was in his blood for 3 years before that. His doctor never tested for the match. The breakfast you are eating is making more matches every morning. Most senior breakfasts in America are matches. So what is the match? The match is called hs-CRP. That stands for high sensitivity C-reactive protein. It is a single, cheap, simple blood test. It costs between $30 and $50 at most labs. Some insurance plans cover it. Most do not order it because most doctors do not request it. It is the single most important number for figuring out whether your arteries are actually safe. And almost nobody in this country has ever had it drawn. Now, I want you to remember something. Clarence had a stroke with perfect cholesterol numbers and perfect blood pressure numbers. Because the wood in his bedroom was not the problem. The match was the problem. If anyone had drawn an hs-CRP test on Clarence at his annual physical, the number would have been somewhere around 5.8. 5.8 is not a normal number. 5.8 is a flashing red light. 5.8 is a man whose body is on fire from the inside every single day for years, and nobody has ever told him. A safe hs-CRP number is under 1. A worrying number is between 1 and 3. A dangerous number is anything over 3. Clarence was at 5.8 for years, eating oatmeal, drinking orange juice, taking his statin, following the rules, watching the wrong number. And the breakfast he was eating every morning was raising the hs-CRP, not lowering it. Now I want to walk you through what is actually happening inside the body, in plain language, the kind your wife can understand, the kind your husband can understand, the kind your daughter can repeat at the dinner table. When something inside your body is irritated, your liver makes a chemical called C-reactive protein, CRP. It is part of the immune system. It is the thing your body sends out to deal with damage. A small amount of CRP is normal. The body is always doing small repairs. That is fine. But when there is a slow, low, never-ending fire somewhere in your body, your liver starts pumping CRP all day, every day. The level in your blood stays high. The fire keeps burning. This kind of slow fire is called chronic inflammation. Most doctors will say those words and then move on. I am not going to move on, because chronic inflammation is the actual cause of most of the bad things that happen to people over 60. The match. When you have high CRP, the inside of your artery walls becomes sticky. The cells that line your arteries are called endothelial cells. They are supposed to be smooth, like the inside of a clean glass tube. When CRP is high, those cells get inflamed. They become rough, they become irritated. Now here is where the wood meets the match. When your artery wall is rough and irritated, cholesterol particles in your blood, the LDL, get pulled into the wall. The LDL gets stuck inside the wall, where it should never be. White blood cells come to clean it up. The white blood cells get stuck too. A pile starts to build inside the artery wall. That pile is called a plaque. The plaque grows. The plaque takes up space. The plaque can either narrow the artery slowly or it can break suddenly. When a plaque breaks, a clot forms on top of it. That clot can stop blood flow in seconds. That is a heart attack. That is a stroke. The wood is the LDL. Yes, it is part of the picture, but the match is the inflammation, the CRP. Without the inflammation, the LDL never gets pulled into the wall in the first place. The wall stays smooth. The pile never starts building. This is why people with perfect cholesterol have heart attacks all the time, because their inflammation was high, because their match was lit, because nobody ever measured it. This is why people with high cholesterol who happen to have very low inflammation often live to 90, because there is no match in the room. The wood by itself is rarely the problem. The match is the problem. And the match comes from your kitchen. Now, you might be sitting there asking the most obvious question in the world. If hs-CRP is so important, why has my doctor never tested it? I want to answer that question carefully because I want you to keep trusting your doctor mostly. Your doctor went to medical school. Your doctor is a smart person. Your doctor is doing their best inside a system that gives them about 12 minutes per patient. Inside those 12 minutes, your doctor is checking the boxes that the insurance system pays them to check. The cholesterol, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, the kidney function, the liver function. The hs-CRP is not one of the routine boxes. The American Heart Association has discussed it for years. Some specialty cardiologists order it, some preventive cardiologists order it, but your average primary care visit does not include it. There is a second reason. The hs-CRP is harder to interpret than cholesterol. If your CRP is high, it could be from your arteries. It could be from a cold you had last week. It could be from your gum disease. It could be from your knee arthritis. It could be from your prostate. It could be from 100 things. Some doctors decide it is too messy a number to order because they will have to explain a lot. So they skip it. And the patient walks out with a clean bill of health. They have a high CRP they do not know about and a kitchen full of breakfast foods that are quietly raising it every morning. I am not telling you to fight with your doctor. I am telling you that at your next visit, you can say one sentence. One sentence. I would like to add hs-CRP to my next blood draw. That is it. Most doctors will say yes. Some will ask why. You can say, I have been reading about chronic inflammation and I want to know my number. They will write it on the slip. The lab will draw it with the rest of your blood. And you will have your number in 3 days. If your number is over 3, you have a project. The project is in your kitchen. And it starts with breakfast. I want to walk you through the 5 most common things on a senior breakfast plate that quietly raise your hs-CRP every single morning. It happens every morning. Without exception, the body does not skip a day. If your breakfast contains 3 or more of these, your match is being lit before you even read the paper. Saboteur 1, the grain that wears a healthy disguise. This one breaks people's hearts the most. Instant oatmeal, the little packets, the flavored ones. The plain ones, all of them. The box says heart healthy. The box has a check mark on it. The box has been on senior breakfast tables for 50 years. Your wife buys it because the cardiologist said oatmeal was good. Here is what is actually inside. Instant oatmeal has been processed so many times that the fiber structure has been broken apart. Your body treats it almost the same way it treats sugar. The blood sugar shoots up within minutes of eating it. Your insulin spikes to bring the blood sugar down. Insulin spikes are one of the strongest known triggers for inflammation in the body. And the brown sugar packet on top is straight sugar. The fruit-flavored versions have more added sugar. Even the plain version has the same blood sugar problem. Now, real, slow-cooked, steel-cut oats are different. Those are still good. Those still have their fiber structure intact. Those release sugar slowly. Those are the version your grandmother would have made. But almost no senior in America is eating slow-cooked steel-cut oats. Almost everyone is eating the instant packet because that is what is on the shelf, and that is what saves time in the morning. The whole grain bread is the same trick. Most loaves labeled whole grain in the regular grocery store are 70% refined white flour with caramel coloring added to make them brown. The label is allowed to say whole grain because of small print rules that nobody reads. This grain saboteur is on most senior breakfast plates in America. It looks like a victory. It is the match. Saboteur 2. The fruit that drinks like soda. I am about to make some people angry. Orange juice is not a health food. It has not been a health food for a long time. The medical community quietly stopped recommending it years ago, but the message has not made it down to most senior kitchens. An 8-ounce glass of orange juice has about the same amount of sugar as a can of Coca-Cola, 24 grams. The vitamin C in the orange juice is a tiny fraction of what you actually need. You can get more of it from 1 bell pepper or 1 cup of broccoli. Now, I want you to think about something. When you eat an orange, you are getting fiber. You are getting structure. You are getting the slowness of having to chew. The sugar enters your blood gradually. The orange is fine. The orange is good. When you drink the orange, the fiber is gone. The sugar enters your blood immediately. The pancreas panics, the insulin spikes, the inflammation rises. Same fruit, different delivery, completely different effect. Smoothies do the same thing. A smoothie with banana and berries and yogurt and juice can have more sugar than a slice of birthday cake. People do not believe this. Then they read the label, then they sit very quietly. The fruit drinking on the senior breakfast plate is a daily inflammation trigger. The match is being lit 1 swallow at a time. Saboteur 3. The yogurt that smuggles sugar. Low-fat vanilla yogurt. Fruit on the bottom yogurt. Greek yogurt with honey. The little 6-ounce cups. Look at the label. Most flavored yogurts have between 12 and 20 grams of added sugar per cup. That is 3 to 5 teaspoons of straight sugar per cup. Why does this happen? Because in the 1980s, the food industry was told to take fat out of yogurt. They took the fat out. The yogurt tasted terrible, so they put sugar in. The yogurt sold again, and the senior population started eating low-fat yogurt every morning, thinking it was a smart, light, healthy choice. It is not. The fat that was removed from the yogurt was the part that kept your blood sugar steady. The sugar that was added is the part that lights the match. Plain, full-fat, unsweetened yogurt is completely different. Plain yogurt is one of the best things you can eat. The probiotic bacteria in plain yogurt actually lower inflammation. The fat slows the absorption of sugar in everything else you eat. Plain yogurt is your friend. Sweetened yogurt is the saboteur. Saboteur 4, the heart-healthy oil that is making your arteries angry. Margarine, vegetable oil spread, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil. I want to be careful here because there has been a lot of fighting about this. Let me give you the calmest version. For about 40 years, seniors were told that butter was the enemy and margarine was the friend. The reason was that margarine was made from vegetable oils, which are lower in saturated fat. So the thinking was, vegetable oils good, animal fats bad. 2 things have happened since then. The first thing is that scientists have learned something about certain vegetable oils, the ones made from soybean, corn, cotton, and sunflower seeds. Those oils are very high in something called omega-6 fats. When the human body has too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, the body's inflammation system gets pushed in the wrong direction. CRP goes up. The second thing is that to make these oils, the seeds have to go through a heavy processing system. They are crushed, they are heated, sometimes they are mixed with chemical solvents. The oil that comes out is fragile. It can become oxidized, especially when reheated, and oxidized oils are direct match material in your arteries. Or I am not telling you to throw away every bottle in your house tomorrow. I am telling you something simple. If your morning toast is being spread with a soft yellow tub that says heart healthy on it, your match is being lit. Real butter from grass-fed cows is not the enemy your doctor said it was. Olive oil is not the enemy. Avocado is not the enemy. The seed oils are the saboteur. Saboteur 5. The bread that lights the match faster than candy. This is the one nobody believes until they see the data. White bread, hamburger buns, hot dog buns, bagels, English muffins, dinner rolls, and most loaves labeled whole wheat in the regular grocery store. All of these have a glycemic index higher than table sugar. Read that sentence again. Higher than table sugar. Your body breaks down a slice of white bread into glucose faster than it breaks down a spoonful of sugar. The blood sugar spike is sharper. The insulin response is stronger. The inflammation cascade is more aggressive. The reason is that modern wheat is not the wheat your grandmother ate. The flour is so finely ground and the bread is so processed that there is barely any structure left to slow it down. It hits the bloodstream like a wave. Imagine a senior eating 2 slices of bread, a glass of juice, and a bowl of instant oatmeal in the same breakfast. That senior is having the blood sugar equivalent of 3 sodas before 9 in the morning. Every morning, for years, that is the match. Lit 5 times before the dog has finished his walk. So, what do we do about all of this? I am going to give you a very specific, very simple, very cheap breakfast that lowers hs-CRP. You can start it tomorrow. You do not need to buy a single thing today. Most of these things are already in your kitchen, or they are at any grocery store, including the small one in your town. This is not a fancy breakfast. This is a real food breakfast. The kind of breakfast a 60-year-old farm woman would have made in 1945. Your wife or your husband can make it, or you can make it. It takes 10 minutes. Here it is. 3 eggs, cooked in real butter or olive oil or avocado oil, yolks included. Yolks especially. The yolks are where the choline lives. Choline is one of the most powerful nutrients for the lining of your blood vessels. It also helps your liver process fats. The cholesterol scare around eggs has been quietly walked back by the medical community for over a decade. The current consensus is that for most adults, eating eggs in the morning does not raise heart disease risk and may lower it. 3 eggs is not a lot. 3 eggs is the right number. 3 eggs gives you about 20 grams of protein, plenty of choline, plenty of B vitamins, and a steady blood sugar response that lasts for hours. Half an avocado, sliced or mashed. Avocado is one of the most anti-inflammatory foods in the world. The fats in avocado are monounsaturated, which means they are the same kind of fats that make olive oil good for you. Avocado also has fiber, which slows everything else down. Half an avocado every morning is a quiet daily reduction in CRP. A small handful of berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, whichever you can find. Frozen is fine. Frozen is sometimes better. Berries have something called polyphenols, which directly lower inflammation in studies. They have very low sugar compared to other fruit. They have lots of fiber. They are the only fruit I would put on a daily senior breakfast plate. Skip the banana. The banana has more sugar than you think and not as much benefit. The orange juice is gone. The berries replace both. Plain, full-fat Greek yogurt with cinnamon on top, about half a cup. This is not the flavored kind. Read the label. The only ingredients should be milk and live cultures. The fat content should be 3% or higher. The sugar content should be under 5 grams per serving, ideally under 3. The cinnamon is not for taste. The cinnamon contains compounds that improve insulin sensitivity. Half a teaspoon a day has been shown to lower fasting blood sugar in older adults. Cinnamon is one of the cheapest, oldest, most underrated tools in a senior kitchen. A cup of black coffee with nothing in it, or with a splash of real cream. Coffee has more antioxidants than almost any other thing in the average American diet. Coffee, drunk plain or with cream, is associated in big studies with lower inflammation, lower stroke risk, and longer life. The thing that ruins coffee is what we put in it. Sugar, sweetened creamers, flavored syrups, black coffee, or coffee with cream. That is the rule. That is your breakfast. 3 eggs, half an avocado, a handful of berries, plain yogurt with cinnamon, black coffee. Total cost, somewhere between $2 and $3 per day, depending on where you shop. Lower than a fast food breakfast. Lower than the boxed instant oatmeal, plus the orange juice, plus the flavored yogurt you were already buying. Total time to make, about 10 minutes. Total effect on hs-CRP in studies of similar diets, somewhere between 15% and 40% reduction in inflammation markers within 30 days. 30 days. By Tuesday morning, 4 weeks from now, your match is being made smaller every single day, without a single new pill, without a single new appointment. I want to address something I see in people's eyes when I show them this breakfast. They look at me like, this cannot possibly be enough. I understand that. The reason you feel that way is because we have been told for decades that fixing your heart takes years, that you have to lose 30 pounds, that you have to run a marathon, that you have to give up everything you love. That story is not true. Here is the actual timeline of what happens when you switch to this breakfast tomorrow morning. Day 1. Your blood sugar in the morning is steadier. You may notice you do not feel hungry at 10:30 a.m. You used to feel hungry at 10:30 a.m. because the oatmeal and the juice spiked your blood sugar and then dropped it. Now it does not drop. The hunger is gone. You may not even need a snack. Day 3. Your morning energy is more consistent. You may notice that the foggy feeling around 11 a.m. has lifted. Your wife may notice you are calmer in the late morning. Your blood pressure, if you measure it, may already be a little lower. Day 7. Your weight, if you measure it, has likely gone down between 1 and 3 pounds. This is mostly water. The high-carbohydrate breakfast was holding water in your tissues. The water is leaving. This is not the real change. The real change is happening inside the artery wall. Day 14. Your hs-CRP, if you tested it on day 1 and you test it again now, has likely come down by between 10 and 20%. You cannot feel this, but it is happening. Day 30. Your hs-CRP has likely come down by between 20 and 40%. The artery walls are calmer. The white blood cells that were stuck in the wall are slowly being cleared. The plaque growth has slowed dramatically. Day 90. If you have been consistent, your hs-CRP may be inside the safe zone, under 1. You may feel like a different person. Your wife or husband may have noticed something, even if they cannot describe it. Day 180. The morning we talked about at the start. The annual physical. The doctor looking at the numbers twice. Eleanor, in your version of the story, looking up over her glasses and saying, "You look more like yourself." This is the slow, steady, quiet way the body actually heals. The healing happens one breakfast at a time, repeated. No crash diet, no emergency room. No miracle, just the same plate every morning until the artery walls calm down. Now I have spent decades being asked the same questions by people in your exact situation, so I want to answer the most common ones now, before you have to email me. Question 1. What if my hs-CRP is already high, like really high? Here is the truth. The higher the starting number, the more dramatic the drop usually is. People who start at 6 or 7 often see the biggest reductions in the first month because there is more fire to put out. I have seen people go from a CRP of 7 to a CRP of 1 in 5 months, with one breakfast change, with nothing else added to their day, with no extra medication. But you have to actually do it every morning, not most mornings, every morning. Question 2, what if I already had a heart attack or a stroke? Then this matters more, not less. The single best predictor of whether you will have a second event is your inflammation level. People who recover from a first heart attack and bring their CRP down to under 1 have dramatically lower rates of a second event. People who recover, get a stent, take their statin, and ignore the inflammation often have a second event within 5 years. The breakfast is not a replacement for your medication. The breakfast is the thing that decides whether the medication is enough. Question 3. Should I stop my statin? No. Please do not stop your statin without talking to your doctor. I want to be clear about this. The statin is doing one job. It is making the woodpile a little smaller. That is important. That is real. But the statin is not putting out the match. The breakfast is putting out the match. You need both. Most people I work with stay on their statin and add the breakfast change. Some doctors, after seeing the CRP drop and the LDL drop together, will eventually lower the statin dose. That is between you and your doctor, never between you and a video. Question 4. I am 75 years old. Is it too late? It is not too late. Here is something almost nobody tells seniors. The body's inflammation response actually responds faster in older adults, not slower. Because at your age, every meal matters more. The signal is louder, the change is bigger. I have seen people in their 80s lower their CRP by half in 2 months. The body wants to heal. The body has been trying to heal. We just keep handing it matches every morning and asking it to put out a fire while we hand it more fuel. Stop handing it matches. Watch what happens. Question 5. What if I hate breakfast? What if I do not eat in the morning? Then do not eat in the morning. There is no rule that you have to. If you skip breakfast and have your first meal at noon, that is fine. The damage we are talking about does not come from skipping breakfast. The damage comes from the wrong breakfast. If you do not want to eat, drink your black coffee, drink your water, and wait until you are hungry. When you are hungry, eat the eggs and the avocado and the berries at noon, at 1 p.m., whenever. The clock is not the problem. The plate is the problem. Question 6. What if my doctor refuses to order the test? This happens. Not often, but it happens. You have 2 options. Option 1, you can ask the doctor again, more directly. You can say, I would like to know my hs-CRP. I am willing to pay out of pocket if insurance does not cover it. Most doctors will write the slip when they hear that. Option 2, there are direct-to-consumer lab services in most states now. You can order an hs-CRP test online without a doctor. They email you the slip. You walk into a Quest or LabCorp location to have your blood drawn. The cost is usually between $35 and $50. The results come to your email in a few days. You do not need permission to know what is in your own blood. Question 7, what about my morning bagel? My toast? Can I keep it on the weekends? This is the kind of question I get from people who already know the answer. Yes, on the weekends, on Christmas, on your grandson's birthday, you can have a piece of cake. You can have a slice of toast. You are not in prison. The question is, what happens on the other 340 days? Because that is where the inflammation comes from. 5 Saturdays a year of Eleanor's pancakes do not build a plaque. 340 mornings of instant oatmeal and orange juice build a plaque. You are not aiming for perfect. You are aiming for daily. Question 8. My husband eats this kind of breakfast, and he is fine. How do I know I am not just like him? I cannot answer that without your number. Nobody can. That is the entire point of this hour. You do not know if you are like your husband or like Clarence until you get the test. A man can eat instant oatmeal for 30 years and have a CRP of 0.8. His genetics handle it just fine. Another man can eat the same breakfast for 7 years and have a CRP of 6.5 because his body responds to refined carbohydrates differently. Same breakfast, different bodies, wildly different artery walls. Get the number. Then you will know. Question 9. What about coffee with cream and sugar? Just 1 teaspoon? 1 teaspoon is fine for most people. 3 or 4 teaspoons is the problem. The flavored creamers from the dairy case are usually loaded with seed oils and sugar and should be removed. Real cream, even half and half, is fine. If you can drink it black, drink it black. If you cannot, real cream and a small amount of real sugar is the next best thing. Honey is also fine in small amounts. The thing to avoid is the syrupy, flavored, low-fat liquid creamers. Those are matches in a bottle. Question 10. How long do I have to do this? For the rest of your life, I will not lie to you about this part. The breakfast change is not a 30-day program. There is no end date. But I want you to understand something. After about 3 months, this breakfast is your normal. You stop missing the oatmeal. You stop wanting the orange juice. The plate I just described becomes the plate your hands reach for without you thinking about it. By month 6, your wife or husband is also eating it because they saw what happened to you, and they want it too. By month 12, you are not the senior at church who is talking about feeling old. You are the one who quietly looks better than you did at 65. The breakfast is not a sacrifice. The breakfast is a return. Now let me tell you something I almost did not include today. That same breakfast also quietly fixes a few other things. The plate I just described. 3 eggs and avocado and berries and plain yogurt with cinnamon and black coffee. It does more than lower your hs-CRP. Your morning joint stiffness The kind that makes the first 10 minutes after getting out of bed feel like you are walking through wet sand. That stiffness is mostly inflammation in the joint capsule, the same inflammation we just talked about. When the CRP comes down, the morning stiffness comes down with it. Your triglyceride number, the other number on your lipid panel, the one almost no senior watches. Triglycerides go up when you eat sugar and refined carbohydrates. They come down hard when you eat eggs and fat and berries. People who change their breakfast often see their triglycerides drop by 30 to 50% in 8 weeks. That alone changes your heart attack risk significantly. Your afternoon sleepiness, the 1 o'clock crash, the 2:30 fog, that is not aging. That is your blood sugar dropping after the morning carbohydrate spike. When you remove the spike, the crash disappears. Most people stop needing the afternoon nap within 2 weeks. Your wife or husband's mood at breakfast. This is not a joke. People who eat steady, high-protein, low-sugar breakfasts are calmer in the morning, less irritable, more patient with their spouse. This is well documented. The kitchen feels different. Your sleep at night. This is the one almost nobody connects. Inflammation disrupts deep sleep. When CRP comes down, deep sleep returns. People sleep more soundly within 3 to 4 weeks of changing their breakfast. So this is not really an hour about blood pressure. This is not really an hour about preventing strokes. This is not really an hour about hs-CRP. This is an hour about one plate of food, eaten quietly for 10 minutes every morning, a plate that changes the shape of the next 20 years of your life. One plate, 3 or 4 ingredients, 10 minutes, $2. That is the deal. That is the whole deal. I want to take you back to the kitchen we started in. 6 months from today. Same window, same chair, same coffee mug. Maybe with a small chip in the rim that you never bothered to replace. But the plate is different. The bowl of instant oatmeal is gone. The orange juice is gone. The flavored yogurt is gone. The whole grain toast with margarine is gone. In their place is something simple. 3 eggs, a few slices of avocado, a small handful of blueberries from the freezer drawer, a small bowl of plain yogurt with cinnamon, a cup of black coffee. It does not look fancy. It does not look like anything special. It looks like a breakfast a hardworking person in 1945 would have eaten without thinking. But underneath the simple plate, something is different. Your hs-CRP, which you finally tested, has come down from wherever it was. Maybe from 4.3 to 1.1, maybe from 6 to 2, maybe from 2.1 to 0.7. The number is moving in the right direction. Every month, quietly. Your blood pressure in the morning is more stable. Your afternoon energy is back. The morning stiffness in your knees is mostly gone. Your wife told you yesterday you laugh more in the kitchen than you used to. Your daughter calls on Sunday. She tells you about her friend's father, who just had a stent put in, $30,000, 3 nights in the hospital. He is recovering. He is okay. She says, I am so glad we do not have to worry about you. You do not say anything to that. You just hold the phone for a second longer than usual, because you remember what your old breakfast plate used to look like, and you remember reading something on a Tuesday afternoon almost a year ago that mentioned a number called hs-CRP, and you remember thinking, I am going to find out my number. And you remember thinking, I am going to change one breakfast. That sentence, I am going to change one breakfast, was the most important sentence you said to yourself in a decade. You did not know it at the time. I am not going to ask you to do anything dramatic. I am not going to ask you to throw out everything in your kitchen tonight. I am going to ask you for 2 things, and they are both small. The first thing is, at your next doctor's visit, ask for your hs-CRP. 1 sentence, 1 slip, $50 or less, 3 days to wait. The second thing is, tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, look at the breakfast you are about to eat and ask yourself one question. Is this plate making a match? If the answer is yes, you know what to swap. The eggs are in the fridge, the berries are in the freezer, the avocado will keep on the counter, the yogurt is at any grocery store, the cinnamon has been in your spice cabinet for years. You already have the tools. You just have to use them. Clarence Whitlock is doing okay. He came back almost all the way. His speech is back. His right hand still has trouble buttoning some shirts. He plays bridge again. He walks Murphy in the morning. Slower than he used to, he still keeps the notebook. The notebook now also tracks his hs-CRP. The number was 5.8 when we finally drew it. Last month it was 1.3. He sits at the kitchen table every morning with Eleanor, and they eat the breakfast I just described to you. He told me something about a year after the stroke. He said I had every number my doctor wanted me to have, and I had a stroke anyway. I missed the only number that actually mattered. Please tell every senior you can find. Please tell them what I was eating. Please tell them what the match is. So I am telling you. Your body has been telling you the truth this entire time. Today, finally, you start listening.